So if you're mastering a song and you feel like the snare, the clap is just slightly buried in the mix, here's something that might help. This is the track that we're working with. It's called Settling by Kenya Jade.
Thinking the whole way.
And when I got this mix, everything was already sitting in a great spot, but I wanted to see how it would sound if we could give the snare a little bit more snap and presence in this first chorus specifically. So you have a couple of options, right? Like obviously if you're the producer or the mix engineer as well, you can just go back to the mix session and make some small EQ moves or turn it up or add some saturation or whatever. But because I was just mastering this track, I didn't have easy access to those sessions. So as opposed to going back to the mix engineer, I wanted to see if I could come up with a solution. So what I ended up doing was automating a multi-band compressor to turn on just during this section of the track. The idea was to actually use this as an expansion tool so that each time the snare hit, it would really quickly lift those upper frequencies and just bring a little bit more kind of presence and snap to it. The first thing that I did was I searched around and found the frequencies of the snare that I really wanted to emphasize. I knew I wanted it to be kind of the high-end like white noise sizzle part of the snare. So I set the point up here around 9K, and then it basically has a range down to like 2.5K. It's really only expanding the really top part of the snare, and I'll solo that really quickly. So the other important thing is that this is set to the expand mode instead of compress. So instead of lowering the volume each time the snare hits, it's actually going to raise the volume of these frequencies really quickly. And then I just dialed in the attack and the release so that it kind of like grooved with the track and it wasn't raising those frequencies for too long and affecting the rest of the mix. The other important thing is making sure that we're setting the threshold so that only the snare is being brought out on each hit and it's not affecting the rest of the mix. If we have this threshold too low, then it's going to be expanding other parts of the mix like the vocal, maybe some other percussion stuff that we don't really want. Let's take a look and watch this band is really only moving when the snare hits. I'll just exaggerate this a little bit so you can really hear what it's doing. If I bypass it.